What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Miss Azrael's Gaming. So we're going to jump into a new game today called The Roottrees Are Dead. Now, it's a murder mystery game, and I believe you also have to do, like, searches on the in-game computer as, well as going through information, like newspapers and things like that. So it sounded really interesting, and it just came out recently on Steam. So let's go ahead and start a new game. Okay, so the Roottrees are dead. The mystery begins here. Root Tree Mania. This mystery will unlock once you finish the Roottrees are dead. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think it's also in the era with, like, really old computers as well. So, probably have dial-up. Yep, December 6, 1998.
The plane that crashed last night just outside of Pittsburgh is now known to have been the private jet of the Roottrees Corporation. Local aviation authorities have speculated, based on the pilot's final communication, that the winter storm and heavy winds played a significant role in the crash. On board were multiple family members, including corporate president Carl Roottrees and his daughters, the Roottrees sisters, best known for their fashion lines and modeling careers. There were no survivors. Again, for those of you just joining us, the Roottrees are dead.
Hello?
I know it's late, but I'm guessing you've seen the news. In addition to dealing with the grief, the Roottrees company's lawyers are scrambling.
I like how this lady just knocked on my door and just flung it open and was like, I guess you've seen the news.
Everything's about to change. Anyone proven to be a blood relative is about to get much richer.
Am I a blood relative?
I'm here to ensure everyone is accounted for.
Do I get money?
I've heard you're an expert at sorting out complicated family trees. A genealogy genie, as it were. I'm going to give you a quick test. Pass, and I can promise you the job of a lifetime.
I'd rather just have all the money. Okay, so complete the family tree of the Roottrees sisters. Okay, siblings are in birth order, oldest to youngest. Examine my evidence, search the internet for clues, fill in the names, fill in the occupations, fill in the photos. My goodness, okay. Sleuth. Okay, so got milk picture. Okay, the person who hired you gave you this photo with a note attached. This was taken during the shoot for the Roottrees sisters' Got Milk ad. I tracked down a test photo from before they painted the fake mustaches on, which I thought would be more appropriate considering the circumstances. The ad's copy reads, "You might recognize our faces from the magazine you're reading, or you might recognize our name from the candy bars you're eating. Being a Roottrees is a full-time job, but so is growing up. That's why the calcium found in milk is so important. Plus, you can't make chocolate without it." Oh. Okay, so we got pictures of the sisters. Going off of looks, if I just went off, she's probably the youngest. It's possible she's the oldest and she's in the middle, or she's the oldest and she's in the middle. But I would definitely say she's probably the younger sister. Okay, so we've got evidence there. Unknown name, unknown name. I still think, I'm going to put her here because I still think she's the youngest. Okay, so, and the oldest is married. Okay, so examine all evidence. All right, let's see. So we've got the computer. We have the internet. Oh my God, it is dial-up. This is going to take us a million years to research this. Wow. Spider search. I don't want spider search. Okay, you can create notes quickly by highlighting text with your mouse. Okay, so type in Roottrees. Okay, so the first few pages are filled with news results about the plane crash. Besides that, there are countless advertisements and conversations about the various products made by the Roottrees Candy Company. Most articles mention Carl Roottrees, who is the president of the Roottrees Candy Company. His daughters are also eulogized, collectively referred to as the Roottrees sisters. They've been famous from a very early age. Okay, so let's try the the root tree, oops, sisters. Okay, there are a lot of obituaries that focus on the Roottrees sisters' modeling careers. You also come across an unofficial Roottrees fan site seemingly curated by a teenager. It's neon pink with purple text and hard to read until you highlight the words, "The young webmaster writes." Raina is the most famous because she's the oldest and got married to TMS. But Riley is the smart one. Rose, that's a weird way to spell it, is a middle child like me. You might think they're rich just because they're models, but their dad is also the president of the candy company, and their mom, Brenda, is a fashion designer. They do the modeling for her brand, Roottrees. I eat Roottrees candy all the time. My favorite are Maple Crisp, and I try to dress in plaid root clothes like Riley does in most of the posters. Someday, I want to get my ears pierced like Rose. The website's author continues to talk about her own life and what she likes about the Root fashion lines, but none are relevant. So it seems like they're all models. The Riley, so Rain is the oldest. Riley is the smart one, and Rose is in the middle. Okay, so that makes Riley the youngest. What does it say here? Was Riley the one that wore plaid? Rose has her ears pierced, so she's the middle child. Hold on. Let me, which one's got their ears pierced? Oh, okay, so she's the middle one. That's what I figured, but I'm actually surprised that she would be the youngest, because I think she said the youngest was in plaid. Okay, so I gotta get used to the board. So she's the middle one. This is, oh my goodness, so many names. Riley, right? Because she said Riley was in the middle. And I believe they're all models. The oldest is Raina. And then the youngest is Rose. With a very unusual way of spelling it. Although I'm not, it's not on here. Weird. That was the name, I thought. Yeah, it's just Raina and Riley. That's super odd because I thought they said... Yeah, I went to get my ears pierced like Rose. Rose is the middle one. Riley, let's see, the modeling band. Try to dress in plaid root clothes like Riley does in most of the posters. Okay, so Riley wears the plaid. And Raina is the oldest. Rose is the middle. And Riley is the smart one. So Riley is the youngest. Right? Oh my god, I'm getting myself all confused now. Yeah, Rose is the middle. Riley is the youngest because Raina is the oldest and she's the one that's married. So Riley is the youngest. Raina. Why is this girl's name not in here? That's super weird. Unless that's not her original name, which seems like that would be odd that it's not. Model. The one in plaid. So that's the oldest. She's married to, I don't know if we have to do that, but it's TMS. So probably Thomas Sheridan, because that's the only only male name that has an S. So it's probably him. But I don't understand why her name is not coming up. Seems odd that Rose is not in here. Let's just go. Okay, that puts me back in my house. Okay, so we've got a notepad on each page. Other than this one, you can jot down important information such as names, family relationships, marital status, sibling count, or anything else you'd like to remember. Page titles can be renamed to make it easier to remember what you've written on each one. Highlight any text in your web browser evidence for quick action to add to your notes. The entire contents of your notepad are saved even if you quit the game. Don't forget to check them when you return. Okay, so family reminders. Siblings often referred to as brothers and sisters. Do you have to tell people that? I mean, cousins, people that share the same grandparents, not the same parents. Second cousins are people that share the same great-grandparents, but not the same grandparents. And third cousins are people that share the same great-great-grandparents, but not the great-grandparents. American school terms, K through 12 stands for kindergarten through 12th grade. This includes all schooling from 5 to 18. Interesting. Oh, don't give me a hint. Don't know where to look next if you're completely stuck. Try talking. Oh, I don't need to. I was just clicking on these things to figure out what they were. Yeah, I mean, it implied that they were all models. But the problem is, her name's not showing up. Unless I'm missing it. Yeah, there is no Rose. I wonder if she has a different name. Or this game has a glitch. Okay, so let's try Rose Roottrees. Okay, so Rose Roottrees, not as popular as her older sister Rihanna, but still very well known. Most of the time they're lumped together as the Roottrees sisters. Unfortunately, the results for Rose by herself don't lead to anything different than when searching for the sisters together. Okay. Okay, Rihanna, yeah, nothing new there. Yeah, they do modeling for the moms. So they're all models. It seems extremely odd that they left that name out. Okay, so I have a feeling that's probably not her name. She must have a different name. Let me also search just to kind of double check. What was it? TMS? Oop. Okay, so TMS is a common abbreviation for early 90s teen heartthrob Tommy Mark Sheridan. His first credited role as Thomas Sheridan was on a soap opera called Time's March Onward. He skyrocketed popularity after his starring role in the sitcom Brother Trouble. Since the end of Brother Trouble, he's often been on the cover of tabloids for his supposed drug use and more recently his relationship with Raina Roottrees. After a short engagement, they married in 1997 when she was only 19 and he was 23. Okay, so let's see. Mark Sheridan. Okay, nothing relevant. And that's who I had, right? Yeah, Thomas Sheridan. Because there's not a... There's not a Mark, is there? Yeah. So, I guess that one right, just by the initials. Let's try just root. See if anything comes up. Root is a pretty common word, although searches are not case sensitive. If you're searching for something specific, you should keep an eye on how it's spelled, punctuation during your research. For example, the clothing company Root always has a period after it, even if it's not the end of the sentence. Oh, okay, let's try that. So clothing company, they make clothes for children from toddlers to teenagers, although their website is down, likely due to the increased web traffic. You find countless retail sites attempting to advertise their clothes towards the target audience. One of them has to say, you've spied the Roottrees sisters looking hella fly on catalogs, magazines, and posters. Now you two can be like Riley, Rose, and Raina. You also come across a website from a collector of clothing catalogs. Apparently, Root has released 2 catalogs per year every year since 1984, and Raina appeared on almost all of them. There's only one that the Moab Master considers a collector's item enough to mention. It seems that Brenda Roottree, the Roottrees sisters' mother and Root's head designer, appeared on one cover holding her daughter Rose in 1985. The site says this was the only time her daughter was ever listed with her birth name, Carly Roottree. There we go. That's what we needed. So her name is Carly. Well done. All right. Oh, and I don't even have to push a button. It automatically just tells me if I'm right. Okay, 0 out of 50 blood relatives. These 3 entries are correct and have been locked. So we got 3 out of 50. You've also locked the following option entry. Sheridan Thomas. Okay, so booyah. God, this lady's gonna just break into my home again.
Sorry to test you, but I had to be sure you could use the internet. Some folks refuse to get with the times. Safe to say, you're hired.
Oh, okay.
The reward for untangling the family tree is substantial. Life-changing, even. But here's the catch. The Roottrees go way, way back. The family tree's a bit daunting. Most people freak out the first time they see the whole thing. But I'm sure you'll be fine. The man who started it was particular about whom he considered family. For your purposes, you only need his direct blood relatives. Anyone related only by marriage is optional, but filling them in can lead to useful discoveries. Lastly, you now have access to some unique websites, plus a list of notable Roottrees. Notable people are easy to find via your search engine, and marked with stars on the family tree. I'm off for now. Carl Roottree had a lot in his office. I'll look for anything useful. I'll return once you identify 6 more blood relatives.
Okay. What do you want now?
Sorry, one last thing. This might sound odd, but if anyone else claiming to represent the Roottrees reaches out, I'd appreciate you not mentioning I was here. Thank you, and good luck.
Maybe you're unsavory. Yikes. Sleuth. Okay, so before the person who hired you returns, every time you get 3 additional blood relatives in the family tree completely correct, name, occupation, and portrait, they will be locked in. All non-blood relatives and small portraits are optional, but placing them in the tree helps remove extra names and photos. Okay, so I need 3 more correct blood relatives before they will lock in. So the Roottree Candy Company was founded in 1908. So we have Gwyneth and Elias. You don't have any portraits available to add to the family tree. Get started. Click on the faces in your evidence tab, okay? Okay, so this is 5 Pieces ad. This is advertisement for 5 Pieces aimed at kids from the magazine Teen Blast. It mentions that 5 Pieces were named as such because the original creator had 5 children. The ad also mentions that the current 5 flavors are not the same as back then. Okay, intuition. You've been in this line of work a long time, so long, in fact, you developed a 6th sense for how useful your evidence can be. The numbers in the magnifying glass refer to how many clues are connected to the specific piece of evidence. Oh, okay. The higher the number, the more there is to find. At the start of your search, the notables list sets off alarm bells, a list of famous people that can be found via search engine. It's pretty rare to get something that useful, best to take advantage of it. As you progress, these numbers will change. Whenever you find more evidence or lock in family members or new discoveries will be added to the list, and old evidence will become less useful. Trust your intuition. If a piece of evidence seems too good to be true, take a closer look at the people or phrases it mentions. Often the most satisfying revelations come from retracing a path you thought was fully explored, armed with a new perspective. Sometimes the reason certain evidence has such high value is because it can lead to finding more evidence. You may be missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Okay, that's interesting. So there's 5 flavors because the original inventor had 5 kids. Maybe that's why the kids still love him. So we have cool chocolate, bad blue, raspberry, awesome apple, power plum, and so strawberry. Radical new flavors because it's no longer the 1920s. What even is an elderberry anyway? Okay, so I'm not getting anything from clicking on it. It says that there's 11 pieces of evidence tied to it, though, if I read that correctly. Okay, let's try this one. This is a list of notable Roottrees. The person who hired you gave you this list and said everyone on it could be easily found via your search engine. So we've done the Roottree sisters. We have Carl Roottree, Elias and Gwyneth Roottree, Gwen Roottree, Red Roottree, Jim Roottree, Lauren Roottree, and Miracle Jr. Any entry in the family tree that belongs to someone on this list will be marked with a star. Notable Roottrees will be crossed out after they are verified and logged. So there's 35 with this one. Easy find online. That's because they're notable, so that's why they'd be the easiest one. Okay, so the story so far. The Roottree sisters and their parents died in a plane crash on December 6, 1998. The next evening, a shadowy figure appeared at your door and said the lawyers were looking to sort out the family tree. After a quick test, the figure gave you access to some of the resources. This includes a list of notable Roottrees who said they would be the easiest family members to place. They said they would return in time to fill it. Time it took to fill out 6 more blood relatives. Okay, so I mean, yeah, it's considered evidence, but it's really not. Story items, photo items, and marketing items. Okay, neat. So we can kind of break those down. Okay, so let's do, let's go ahead and I guess we'll search them first. So we have Gwyneth Roottree. Ooh, okay. Periodicals, the internet's largest database of magazines and newspapers. Okay, so you actually have to have the magazine. Public library and book title. Okay, so... Ooh, helps if I can spell it right. Gwyneth... I can't spell. Gwyneth. Gwy. There we go. Oh, Roottrie. Oh, Lord. Okay. Alright, you find some information on a website for the first Anderson maple farm. There are a few pictures, including a famous picture of Elias and Gwyneth. That photo was added to your evidence. Before marrying Elias, Gwyneth Roottree was Gwyneth Anderson. She had no brothers, so as the oldest sister, she was to inherit the Anderson maple farm, so long as she married. Before Elias took over, the farm produced only syrup. It was supposedly Elias's idea to create candy instead. Their success was not immediate until they decided to combine the maple with other flavors. This led to 5 pieces, which are still found in stores to this day. Though the Roottree Candy Company expanded well beyond their original farm, it has been preserved as a tourist attraction. According to their website, there is still daily demonstrations and educational tours that show off many of the turn-of-the-century appliances that Gwyneth would have used as a housewife in the early 1900s. Okay. Ooh, I like the photo. This is a famous picture of Elias and Gwyneth Roottree. It was taken in 1909 after they founded the Roottree Candy Company, but before it was a success. From what you found searching the internet, it seems quite difficult to find any site about Elias or Gwyneth that isn't accompanied by this picture. Elias and Gwyneth are on the notable Roottrees list in your evidence. They'll be marked on the chart with a star. Okay, so we're taking their photos or anything else stands out? Probably not. Okay, so this was Gwyneth Roottree. Ooh, or do they have her by Anderson? It's technically Gwyneth Anderson until she got married. Ooh, is he Elias C or Elias M? Well, I know it's probably not Junior. Okay, so Elias. Ooh. Okay, Elias Roottrees was the founder of the first president of the Roottrees Candy Company. You find what is essentially a propaganda site about him created by the Roottrees Candy Company. At the top, there's a picture of him and his wife, Gwyneth. That picture has been added to your evidence. There's also a biography section that has some additional information. Elias is credited for inventing 5 pieces, a popular maple candy. Before that, the farm he inherited by marrying his wife only produced syrup. After 5 pieces became widely successful, Elias spent his time and energy on cementing his reputation as a family man. He's quoted on the site as saying, "Blood is thicker than syrup, and that any child linked by blood to me shall be linked by blood to my legacy." The site enthusiastically claims that he made good on that promise, but offers no additional details. There are a few more quotes about Elias from a book called Family Man, The Roottrees Legacy by Bess Williams. To say they are biased is a massive understatement. Below that, there's a long list of accomplishments and awards, and one stands out. Like his great-grandson, Carl, Elias was voted Watchman of the Year. Okay, so there is a book, The Family Man, The Roottrees Legacy by Bess Williams. Because we're not getting his initial, and there's 2 different Eliases. Can I paste it? Seriously, I can't do that? Okay, well, it's Bess Williams. Okay, I do need the book title. Family Man, The Roottrees Legacy. I spelled that wrong. I'm not the best speller in the world, so Legacy. Legacy. An old book about Elias Roottrees. There's no downloadable version available because the book is impossible to find these days. Okay, so we still didn't get his initial. Let's try this. There was a C. And an M. Not helpful. And there's a few that would go in for him. She was a housewife. Maybe he's just Elias. There's just so many Eliases, though, because he could be that one. He could be C. Elias, M. Elias. We'll just go with the basic one. Now, for his job, though, is he considered a CEO? I don't know if he'd be a CEO, though. Technically a farmer. Media mogul. I'm kind of curious if he would be considered the CEO. But I'm not entirely sure. All right, so let's look up the 5 pieces. From the marketing materials and various candy history sites, you learn that 5 pieces are the iconic candy sold by the Roottrees Candy Company. Although they're no longer the company's only popular product, they still sell well to this day. 5 pieces are small, colorful shelled coated maple candies that since the late 20s have been pressed into shapes of maple leaves, although they usually have one flavor that looks more like a berry. As tastes have changed over the years, so have the 5 flavors, but the shapes and combinations with maple have remained consistent. There's also a history of print advertising website that claims to have 5-piece advertisements scanned from a book called The Sweet History of Candy Volume 2 by Charles Lee. Unfortunately, you can click through to the website. It seems like all of their image links are broken. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Let's try the book again. So that was by Charles Lee. And it was the Sweet History of Candy Volume 2. Okay, so published in 1985, hardcover history advertising nonfiction. This is part of a book series about all things candy in the modern world. It starts in 1925 and continues onwards to chronicle the rise of the mass production and global distribution. The book ends with a look into the future of the candy as envisioned by experts in 1985. With the addition of hindsight, you can clearly see they got pretty much everything wrong. It includes some print advertisements. You find a newspaper ad for 5 pieces from 1930s added to the evidence. Okay, it says you found this advertisement in The Sweet History of Candy Volume 2 by Charles Lee. It's from 1928, 6 years after the debut of 5 pieces. It states that the flavors are inspired by their children, and the order is grape, elderberry, cinnamon extract, melon, and the newest flavor, Miracle Berry. Miracle Berry is a burst of beautiful blossoming blended berries. Try it today. Inspired by their children, so it must be kids with G, E, C, E, and M. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see. All right, let's... I'm still not sure what he would be listed as. Because I'm not sure if he would be considered like the CEO. I mean, in all intents and purposes, that's what he is. Okay, so let's see. Where can we move? Can I zoom in, please? Thank you. No name, unknown occupation. Okay, so these would be their children. Okay, I don't need that there. Well, this would be easy because this would be their mom. What was their mom's name? Now I don't remember. Yeah, it's Brenda. Okay, so that's right, because it wouldn't be... Her last name originally would not have been Roottree. But I do not see a Brenda listed anywhere. Here we go, Brenda White. Did it say who their dad was? Okay, so besides that, there are countless advertisements and conversations. Most articles mention Carl Roottree, who is the president of the Roottree Candy Company. His daughters are also eulogized. Collectively referred to as the Roottree sisters, have been famous from an early age. So the son's name is Carl. And he was the president, right? Yeah, who was the president of the Roottree Candy Company. Now, I don't know if that's considered the first president. So, let's look up Carl Roottree. Oh, helps if I spell things right, huh? Okay, Carl Roottree died in the recent plane crash along with his wife Brenda Roottree and their daughters, the Roottree sisters. He was the president of the Roottree Candy Company as well as the clothing company Root, which he co-founded with his wife. There's a short press release that the Roottree Candy Company released today to news organizations. December 6, 1998. It is with a heavy heart that we mourn the loss of Carl, Brenda, the Roottree sisters, and the other employees that perished in the terrible tragedy. The entire Roottree family is shocked and requesting privacy at this time. As the head of our company, Carl was an incredible man and an unmatched leader. Filling his absence will be difficult and may take considerable time. In the interim, we hope that you join us in looking back fondly on Carl and his family's triumphs and accomplishments. They go on to list some of those accomplishments. One of them seems relevant to your search. Like his great-grandfather before him, Carl earned the highly prestigious Watchman of the Year title. Okay, and that was mentioned about Elias as well. Okay, like his great-grandson, Carl was voted Watchman of the Year. Okay. But we don't have a picture of him. Alright, so let's... Oh, what's this say here? Okay, so you can open this envelope after the whole family tree has been filled in. It has 2 names that must be typed in manually. The clues are obscured, have been intentionally hidden in the past, and may even require some leaps in logic. Try to keep an eye out for any inconsistencies. Yikes. Oh my goodness, this is a massive tree. Okay, so let's go back... Carl Roottree. So we did start with him. I mean, we got what we could on him, but we didn't get a picture. Let's see, Watchman of the Year. Let's look up that one. It's been mentioned a few times. Oh, shoot. New periodical added, Business Watch. Okay. So Business Watch magazine is a magazine focused on companies, CEOs, and the economy. They've been around for more than 100 years in one form or another and will often write about major changes in management at famous companies. Every year they offer an award to a prominent businessman who has furthered the field. They call this Watchman of the Year. You find through a few searches that 2 Roottrees have been featured as Watchman of the Year: Elias Roottree and Carl Roottree. Business Watch does not host any online archives or any site you can find via spider search, though you may be able to find individual articles and issues through the periodical search. Business Watch. Business Watch has awarded Watchman of the Year to many people throughout the years. Every 10 years, they publish the full list again. You search through the most recent list, and the only names you recognize are Elias Roottree in 1936 and Carl Roottree in 1987. Okay, let's see if we can... Printing Watchman, there we go. Carl Roottree was voted Watchman of the Year in 1987 for his work with Root. The cover and a summary of the article has been added to your evidence. Ooh, nice looking dude. Carl Roottree grabs life by the roots. So Carl Roottree was voted Watchman of the Year in 1987, and a photo of him appears on the cover. According to the cover, Business Watch is the magazine for and about corporate leaders, and has ongoing coverage of the who's who in the corporate world. Carl was chosen not for his work at Roottree Candy, but rather a clothing company, Root. There's a brief history. Before they married, Carl's wife Brenda was a fashion consultant. When Raina was born, Brenda retired to become a stay-at-home mother looking for a creative outlet. She spent any free time she had at the sewing machine. Raina's new clothes were a hit with other parents, including Carl's cousin Jim Roottrees, a notable singer who had a young daughter around the same age as Raina. Word spread. Okay, so Jim Roottrees is a cousin. By 1982, Brenda's patterns were being copied by other brands. Seeing the demand, Carl and his second cousin Ernie Jr., who had just become president of the Roottree at the time, spearheaded Root. Other blood relatives who have a say in the company's finances refused to fund anything other than candy, so Carl personally spent his entire inheritance to bankroll the clothing company. When the profits began to appear, however, the rest of the family changed their tune. They repaid his investment, and now Root exists under the umbrella of the candy company, and they all benefit. Per tradition, or perhaps superstition, new clothes always debut the way the first ones did. Raina became their catalog's cover model. As she grew, the product line expanded to older kids as well. Her younger sisters were then recruited to show off the baby clothes. Carl was voted Watchman of the Year primarily for his personal gamble and the ensuing payoff. So his second cousin Ernie Jr. had just become president of Roottree at the time. Interesting. Okay. So, but we have a picture now to go with Carl. That's Carl, but I'm not sure if it's... It said he was president, but I don't know. I mean, he could technically also be considered a CEO as well, because he was running the clothing line. Okay, so these, they must not be right, because it would have locked them in if they were all right. That's the only thing. I'm not sure on his... what his actual job may be. I don't know if it's president or not. Okay, so let's go through the next notable. Okay, Elias and Gwyneth Roottree. We did do those. It could be I need to come up with some other clues that point those ones out. Let's try Gwen Roottree. I do that every time. Okay, you should find some information on the website about old films that are not yet available on VHS. The site is not very well organized and the search is broken, but you can get individual pages from your search engine. Gwen Roottree is a somewhat well-known actress who was active in the 1950s. She often appeared in tabloids, especially around the time of her highly publicized divorce. Her big role was the minor hit movie Guys Like Us. She left Hollywood after the flop of Christmas Mission. There's a widely circulated picture of Gwen from behind the scenes of her own movies, which you've added to evidence. Did you know, trivia, Gwen was the granddaughter of Elias Roottree, the founder of Roottrees Candy. She shouldn't have been named Roottrees, but her father took her mother's famous name, which was quite rare in those days. Okay, so that means her mother was a Roottrees, not her father. Oh, she's pretty. Okay, so this photo is widely circulated of Gwen Roottrees. You've seen it on multiple websites about old films. Gwen Roottrees is on the notable Roottrees list, and your evidence should be marked on the chart with a star. Okay, but she also got a divorce. And it was a granddaughter, so she'd be down here. This is more than likely her over here. Because it said she split with her husband. Yeah, her highly publicized divorce. So my guess is this is... She was an actor. Once you verify this relative, you'll be able to add bonus photos. At least I think that's where she'd go, but I could be wrong. Because they did split up, and it said that she was the granddaughter. Yeah, so I don't think she'd be in this one. He's great-grandson. She has to be there, but it's like I said, I could be wrong. Okay, let's look for red Roottrees. We'll just go ahead and kind of search all these to see if we find anything. Okay, you find information on a website about strange historical facts. Ailonius Herring Roottrees, aka Red, was an appointed judge and politician who earned his nickname, ironically, because he was the ambassador to Ireland for only about 6 days. He served what some people contend is the shortest term in history. A few days after he was appointed, he was heard disparaging his position and the Irish people. He then tried to run for state senate. He claimed to be related to Roottrees Candy Company in a newspaper ad, but it came out that the last name was merely coincidence, and he was defeated in a landslide. Oh, interesting. So he's not even an actual Roottrees. Okay, so nothing there on him. But he's still a notable figure. It doesn't mean he's not part of the family tree. Ah, it's marked as a red herring. Nice. Okay. Jim Roottrees. So let's go ahead and look up him. Okay, Jim Roottrees is a singer who sings in the duo Jim and Diamond with his wife Diamond LaRoe. The duo, according to many sources you find, is considered a one-hit wonder due to the disco song Rollin' On Down to the City. It's now in your evidence folder. Although Jim writes the majority of songs, plays the guitars, and often sings, Diamond is considered by fans to be the band's lead singer. The band never had any other hit, but it has its fans who refer to themselves as Diamond's Dazzlers. The rest of their music is more folksy and acoustic than the one song they were known for. Jim and Diamond have continued to release music through the 80s and early 90s. Other albums you find mentioned are Cherry Tree and Sound of Laughter. Jim has been a bit of a recluse, and he hasn't made a public appearance since 1996. Interesting. Okay, so here they are. So rolling down the city. So we have Jim and we have Diamond. Oh, there's actually quite a bit here. Okay, so Rolling On Down to the City was barely a top 20 hit for a few weeks in 1979. According to the liner notes, it satirizes how a part of society was content to remain indifferent to economic inflation and civil unrest in the Middle East. Unless pop culture tricked them into caring, somewhat ironically, listeners don't seem to pay attention to the lyrics enough to trick them into caring. Instead, most of its play came from roller discos. Because it was such a product of a time, it doesn't get much play anymore. Even on stations that play oldies. Maybe that's why you'd never heard of it before. This image is from an auction for a sealed copy. It has a sticker that says, only the greatest grandson of Elias Roottrees could also make disco this sweet. Okay, so he's a great-grandson. It is credited to Peter Janowski, Jenowitz, I don't know how I got Janowski out of that, from MMM. Music and lyrics by Jim Roottrees, vocals by Jim Roottrees and Diamond LaRoe. Jim Roottrees on the notable Roottrees list near evidence. He will be marked on the chart with a star. The lyrics of this song contain no clues. Lyrics were rollin', rollin', rollin' on down to the city. Saturday night and you're quite a sight. The world might be burning, but I'm feeling right. Making ends meet to pay rent and eat. We can't afford gas, so we skate in the street. The guys all rush to say that I'm pretty. Ladies blush and find me so witty. They're out of luck tonight. What a pity. We're rollin', rollin', rollin' on down to the city. On wheels we glide, with you by my side. Inflation is rising, but so is our pride. Pick or fight, make love not hate. They fight overseas, but we'd rather skate. The guys all rush to say that I'm pretty. Ladies blush and find me so witty. They're out of luck tonight, what a pity. We're rolling, rolling, rolling on down to the city. Politicians at large are all hopeless. The bankers in charge are all clowns. But parties sell better than protests, so signs up while we boogie down, 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 down. The guys all rush to say that I'm pretty. Ladies blush and find me so witty. They're out of luck tonight. What a pity. We're rolling, rolling. But no wonder that wasn't very notable for a while. Let's see. So he is a great-grandson. That would put him in here. So this is, I would assume this is him. Because like I said, this would be, so this is father, then this would be the son or daughter, whichever. Then this would be the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. Yeah. So this should be him. And his spouse, she was Diamond LaRoe. Picture of her. Like there might be multiple pictures. Crap, what was his name? I don't even remember now. Jim. Nope, wrong button. Okay, so we have Jim Roottrees. Or not. Is he not a Roottrees? Is that not his last name? Could be James. Yep, James, that's right, known as Jim. It made me think of Jimothy from The Office. Can I call you Jimothy? Okay, he was a singer, a musician. Okay, well done. Okay, so we've locked in 3. I don't know which 3 we did. These 3 entries are correct and have been locked. Okay. So we're wrong on the 2 guys. Diamond and Brenda. You've also locked the following entries. Diamond and Brenda. Booyah. Okay, so we've got these ones locked in. So what is he considered? Maybe he's the CEO. Okay, we got her locked in, but we don't know who her husband was. And see, I've got him wrong because I don't think... I don't know what his job... I mean, technically he was a farmer. So maybe we should go with farmer on that one. We have the musician, Gwen Roottree. We don't have her husband. Okay, so what's the next notable? I love how it marks them off. That's so great. Lauren Roottree. Okay, so we'll try Lauren Roottree. Okay, author Lauren Roottrees, a distant relative of the Roottrees sisters, is known for her book, A Life Between Wars. According to a website about famous authors in the early 1960s, Lauren released a few romance novels under her married name, Lauren Rafferty, to little fanfare. When her publisher learned she had been keeping diaries about her famous family, they insisted she release them under her original name, Lauren Roottrees, to take advantage of her family's notoriety. The selection of diary entries, released in 1965 as A Life Between Wars, spans from the untimely death of her husband in World War II to coping with the post-war world as a young widow and mother, as well as her perspectives of changing times in society all the way through the entry into Vietnam. While the content is not considered particularly relevant to modern audiences, it has found new life as an exercise in high school English classes to show an evolution in writing style and for a look into life in previous generations. After the success of her diaries, her publisher re-released her romance novels under the name Lauren Roottrees. This included Romance in Court, which gained popularity. She followed the re-release up by writing 2 new sequels, creating what fans referred to as the Court Jester series. You find no recent details about Lauren, though. She is listed as retired. Okay, so her job would be retired. Let's see, Romance in Court. Since that became kind of popular, let's see. We have Lauren Roottrees. Romance... Okay, romance novel by Lauren Roottrees, about the author blurb, mentioned she had inspiration from one of her brother's Clancy's lectures of Middle Ages. Okay, so that didn't help with it. What was another book that she did? Maybe Lauren Rafferty? A Life Between Wars. Let's try that one. There we go. Okay, a hardcover student edition, republished in 1983, nonfiction. It seems you've hit the jackpot here. This is a book occasionally taught in schools. You even find a hardcover edition for students that has full-page, high-quality pictures in it. A summary of the contents of the book's photos as well as some of your particular relevant entries from the diary have been added to your evidence. Wow, we got 7. Dang, we got a lot from it. Okay, so A Life Between Wars, excerpts from the Diary of Roottrees. So I would assume that's Lauren, that's her husband. So below are the notes and observations you made while skimming through Lauren Roottrees' diary pages in A Life Between Wars. Lauren Roottrees is on a notable Roottrees list, and evidence she will be marked on the chart with a star. The book was published in 1965 and consists of diary entries that stretch from 1940 to 1965. The most important event that much of the diary and Lauren's thoughts revolve around was the loss of her husband, Jacob. Jacob died in the final months of World War II, while Lauren was pregnant. This left her to raise her son, Clark, alone. Lauren never remarried and only had 1 child. Okay, so that just gave us like 3 names right off the bat. By skimming the pages of the diary, you glean the following information. She was the granddaughter of Elias and Gwyneth on her father's side. Okay, so her father was the Roottrees. Her mother's family was called the Cossells, but she hardly ever mentions them. Her father, who she always refers to as Pop, was the head lawyer for the Roottrees Candy Company and helped write a legal document called the Clance Trust. It's clear from context that the Roottrees have internal shorthand names for the different generations of their family. Lauren uses them often. 5 pieces of the first generation of children by Gwyneth and Elias. Lauren's father was in this generation. The next generation is Lauren's generation, and the Free Spirits, the generation after Lauren's, including her son. Okay, so her father was the lawyer and the son of Elias and Gwendolyn. Still says new. Is there something else on here I could get? Oh, there's extra pages. Here we go. Okay, so an entry entitled Complaints from Lauren Roottrees' Diary, written in 1953. This entry seems to focus specifically on one of Lauren's family members, Gwen, who is on the notable Roottrees list. It seems everyone has something to complain about about. Gwen, as an only child, complained of loneliness. I told her that being expected to watch after 3 younger brothers didn't feel like a blessing, but it fell on deaf ears. During the summer, when I went to stay with her and Aunt Margot, I hoped she would be the sister I'd never had and that I'd do the same for her. I even tried to dye my hair blonde to fit in with the 2 of them. What a mess. But she just complained. To her, I was the lucky cousin. Now she's off living the glamorous life while I'm stuck here with Clark. I must admit, seeing her everywhere contributes to my unhappiness. Her visage stares at me even now from my coffee table. She gets to be the starlet and tell tales of how she gallivants around the world, kissing the likes of Harrison Lane and Wild Bill Williams. She's the first Roottrees woman to be anything other than a housewife, and I am jealous. If I were not a single mother, could I make my own way in this world? But I'm off topic. A girl with all the luck in the world was jealous of me. And now, though I have been undoubtedly burdened by terrible tragedy, I'm also lucky to be born into a family that can support me for eternity. I can raise a child without worry, unlike countless other widows. If any of them were to hear me complaining, they would rightfully scoff just like I do at Gwen. An entry entitled Dynasty from Lauren Roottrees' diary written in 1958. It focuses on the day her grandfather Elias announced he would step down as president of the Roottrees Candy Company, and this meeting to determine his successor. Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. Okay, so he was president 1. So 2, 3. He might be president 4. Possibly. Okay, go back to the evidence. Okay, so let's see. Would step down. Okay, I wish I'd been a fly on the wall today. Clancy told me that everyone got quite heated. Granddad was furious none of his sons would take over as president, but that's what he gets for holding on to it so long. With architects, preachers, and lawyers, nobody's got time for candy. So, with the 5 pieces refusing to step up, it came down to us next gens. Pop argued at length that the company should stay with our branch of the family since we still have the Roottrees name. I'm not even sure Clancy would have wanted it, but he's the one who was volunteered. Instead, it ended up going to Zach. Even though his surname doesn't match the candy, he's the firstborn son of the firstborn 5-piece. I'm not sure how that's relevant to running a company, but Granddad always had very particular views when it came to his bloodline. I asked Clancy if it ever came up that a woman could take over. After all, Angie's older than Zach, and I'm next oldest of all of us, but he just laughed. I'll never forget the cuss words Pop used when he told Ma it wouldn't go to us. Mother, ever the quick-witted, at least with catty remarks, counted back. Maybe they wanted it to go to the only member of the family who looks like he samples the product. Rude. An entry entitled Sam from Lauren Roottrees' diary, written in 1963. From a previous entry, you learn that Elias Roottree had given in to his wife and announced that Sam, an obscure relative, was to be included in the family gatherings. Gwyneth had been pushing to include Sam for quite some time, Lauren writes. Why Sam? I have many distant relatives I've never met. After all, Granny and sisters and Granddad had a brother or 2. But I was told, trim their branches from the family tree. So why is Sam special? Nothing adds up. I'm not the only one to realize. Angie summoned all the next gens to a secret meeting in Zach's office. Gwen's in Paris, but the rest of us, including Miracle Boys, spent ages trying to unravel the mystery. None of us had even met Sam until Uncle Junior's wedding to Patsy last year. At the reception, when I asked who Sam was, Pop shushed me and said it was complicated. Clancy swore he saw Sam working alongside the farmhands, E.C. and John, when he used to drive past the old Andersons farm on his way to work. Upon hearing that, Zach checked the records and managed to confirm all 3 of them are on the books. Eli, Miracle's youngest, not my brother, even chimed in. Apparently, he was riding his mini bike along the farm a few weeks ago. Sam gave him some old tools and taught him how to make the bike's engine go faster. None of us think that proper for a multitude of reasons, but Eli certainly seemed thrilled. At the end of the day, nothing explains why an outsider has cozied into the family affairs, especially one who works on the farm of all places. Whatever happened to blood is thicker than syrup? Why is Granddad making an exception now? More than likely, that's because it was his kid. One of the final entries called Clark from Lauren Roottrees' diary, written in 1964. Clark's getting married and, in my opinion, far too young. He's barely 18 for God's sakes, and Danielle isn't much older. But openly confronting them would make me a hypocrite. After all, Jacob and I got married at 16. Clark, like the rest of his generation, is a free spirit. What else do you call a group of kids growing up with more money than any one person can spend? They all aspire to be musicians and artists and dancers and all sorts of nonsense. The only one who has any discipline is Carl, but that's because Pop forced Clancy to send him to the academy. Maybe I'm just getting old, but our generation was never so bad. My brothers all seemed to pursue passive knowledge, and the most rebellious thing any of us ever did was bring home someone who would be illegal to marry if we lived anywhere south of Pennsylvania. Pop seems to have gotten over it because Edward's set to take over his department once he retires. And as for me, my first published book, Swashbuckle My Heart, is based on the pirate stories I used to invent with Jacob when we were walking in the woods after school. I think he'd be proud that Clark and I are carrying on his name. Even my cousins are doing well. Zach's not a bad president after all, and his sisters seem to be doing a good job raising her twins. Gwen is Gwen, but at least she came out of the divorce with her head held high. She even told us she might come home next year so we can meet her kids. But the free spirit and any other family, they'd all end up on the streets, even Clark. Okay, so then we have a bunch of pictures here. Okay, Lauren's diary contains some labeled pictures. This is the 5 pieces. Okay, so the picture was famous in our house. Pop even had it framed. That's him on the left. Okay, so this is her dad. It was taken in 1935 to celebrate the move to the new warehouse that Eli Jr. designed. So this is probably Eli Jr. Angie and I both wanted to be in the photo since Miracle was in it, and the 3 of us were all about the same age. We were told only the 5 pieces, which really didn't go over well, to say the least. So maybe this is Miracle? Eventually, I suppose to stop the tantrums, they posed us in front of the camera with Mr. Morden, who was there with Aunt Gwendolyn. I found out years later that they never even took a second photo. Okay, so this is her father here. Oh, good Lord, we got more photos. That's the one who took over the candy company. Lauren's diary contains some labeled pictures. This is the next generation. Captured. An attempt to recapture the spirit of the 5-piece photo from our generation. For old time's sake, we gathered on the warehouse floor. I wanted Eli to stand all the way on the left, since to me he looked a lot like Pop did in the old one. But I was outvoted by my brothers. They insisted the 4 of us stand together. And so we clumped up in the middle and let everyone filter in behind and in front of us. The only one too good to make an appearance was Gwen. Grandma insisted we include Sam, even if we didn't want to. None of us understood why, including Sam. I also don't think it's fair to Miracle. I also don't think it's fair. It should be it's fair. Miracle made it in, since he's technically a 5-piece. I guess my inner child still holds a grudge even after all these years. Yeah, so I think that's Miracle. I don't know. He's got an eye patch. I didn't see anybody with an eye patch here. That might be him. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay, but this is her father. Okay, oh my goodness. It's just like so much information at once. Okay, I bet this is her. Three brothers. Wait, is she the list of notables, or she's the list of notables that is not her? She is, isn't she? I think she is. I was looking up Lauren, correct? Yeah, Lauren Roottrees. So she's going to be one of the stars. And she'd be on this row. And she had 3 brothers, so that's probably... Yeah, this is probably her. And then that's her dad. she's listed as retired, but that's not a thing. So maybe an author. What was her husband's name? Jacob. What was her? Yeah, her married name was Rafferty, so it would be Jacob Rafferty. I was gonna say, she doesn't go by Lauren, does she? Okay, not Lauren Rafferty, okay. All right, so I think that one's right. Okay, so what was the... What's her father's name? On the left, it was taking supper. Like I said, that's probably Eli Jr. What are the 5 kids' names? He was a lawyer, right? Roottrees. Edward Roottrees didn't come up, and that was one of the names that was mentioned. What was her son's name? Clark. So Clark Rafferty. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what I need to search to find out who the siblings are. I tried the 5 pieces. That didn't amount to anything. States that the flavors are inspired by their children and the order's grape, elderberry, cinnamon extract, melon, and the newest flavor, miracle berry. This was the youngest one. It's probably Gwendolyn. Elias Jr. Let's see, wasn't there... Clance Trust. Her father, who was also referred to as Pop, was the head lawyer for the Roottrees Candy Company and helped write a legal document called the Clance Trust. Okay, let's try that. Okay, the Clance, pronounced Clance, Trust is a highly unusual corporate arrangement named after Clancy Edward Roottree, who was Elias's son and the Roottrees Candy Company's head lawyer at the time. Due to its unique nature, it's often brought up in an online discussions about financial matters and inheritance as an oddity. The company mandates that a fixed percentage of its profits are split every quarter amongst bank accounts representing each direct relative of Elias and Gwyneth. An account is created for each blood relative at birth and first accessible when they reach 18. The actual numbers have never been fully disclosed to the public, but due to the ever-increasing success of the company, a significant amount of money. The Clance Trust is known for being essentially impossible to get around due to many checks and balances written into it. Still, there have been a few situations in which family members have tried to forcibly remove another member from the trust. Most details online are pretty vague since the matters are handled internally. The only information you discover is from a university law school, which apparently had a guest lecturer talk about the Roottrees versus the RR in 1994. While looking into the Clance Trust, you often find mentions to the 5-piece guarantee, which went into effect at the same time. Let's see if we can find... Okay, so you find very few details about this particular incident with regards to the Clance Trust. A student that attended the lecture about it wrote the following on a legal oddities website. From what you can tell, RR attempted unsuccessfully to remove a fellow family member from the trust. It was said that RR attempted 2 arguments. First, the person in question was born out of wedlock, and second, they committed a significant crime against a fellow family member. Still, due to the ironclad warning of the Clance Trust, it was impossible to remove any direct descendant of Elias Roottree without completely dissolving the trust. There is no information online. Okay, let's search this one. The 5-piece guarantee, in combination with the Clance Trust, was Elias Root's attempt to ensure that the Roottrees Candy Company would remain a family business for eternity. In isolation is somewhat baffling. The yearly salary of the Roottrees president is always locked to the price of a single pack of a 5-piece. When the 5-piece guarantee went into effect, this was 25 cents a year. Now it's closer to $4. Combined with the Clance Trust, however, it makes a bit more sense. Elias wanted to ensure that only his direct relatives could afford to be president, and he knew that because their passive income was tied to the profits of the company. They would have a vested interest in keeping the company as profitable and successful as possible. Whether or not this was a smart, successful decision is widely debated both online and in person by economic enthusiasts of levered expertise. Okay. Okay, the Clan's Trust was mentioned many times in Business Watch. Most results are from the 40s and 50s, but occasionally more recent references creep in. From context, it's clear that it allows the entire Roottrees family to earn money based on the profits of the candy company. The first article you can find from 1943 mentions that the infallible legal aspects of it were designed by Clancy Edward Roottree to secure the future of his father's famous name. You might be able to find more details online. Okay, so he must be Clancy Edward Roottree. There we go. All right, well done. I've locked 3 more in. 3 entries are correct and have been locked. So Elias, Clancy, and Lauren. Okay, you've also unlocked the following entries. So her husband. Oh, got a knock.
You're on a roll. I'll try to keep that momentum going. Carl's office was a mess, thanks to some burst pipes. But I unearthed a photo from a 1970s Roottrees reunion. I also found some important-looking papers. You've traced 9 blood relatives so far. I'll have more to share after you find 9 more.
That is a lot, but we have some new evidence here that we're going to go over, but in the next episode. I hope you've all been enjoying the Roottrees Are Dead. It's definitely a different kind of murder mystery puzzle game. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's funny because you try to search things and you're like, oh, I just have to look this up. I'm totally going to get this, and then you search it and like you get no information from it whatsoever. And then you have to go dig a little deeper and look through other things like magazine articles or things like that. But definitely different. And I'm really, really enjoying it. So please leave me a comment down below. Leave me a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Bye.